guys, this is Melanin Uncut, and this is
Julie,
and it's your girl MJ, and we are back for another
video.
Yes, another video, another episode.
Yes. Woo. I'm excited.
I am.
Yes, and we're excited to be together in the flesh. Like,
yes.
You know, we haven't done this ever. It's our first video.
Yeah. This is crazy. I feel like it's kind of like
elevation.
Yes. We started from here to
now we're here.
Here. Julie, we're
here.
Oh, we're here.
We're here.
So now we're here.
Yes.
So it's a good vibe. It's a good energy, and I love it. And like, I just really want to just kind of jump into our topic because I don't want to waste nobody's time on this.
Yeah.
But on the topic we've been discussing lately, and I figured like we might as well make a episode about this, is the end.
Yeah. Endings of just anything. The
ending of relationships, friendships. You called it family ships. All of these things.
Yeah.
And I think this is important because a lot of people don't talk about this.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the beginning of relationships, the beginning of anything new. But when they don't talk about the end.
The ending of times, yeah.
Yeah. The end and how that looks or how did that transpire.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about it. Because
we gotta talk about it.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people can like relate to this. A lot of people have been in friendships for years. Those friendships ended. People been in a relationship for years. Those ended. Some people have been with their family their whole life, you know, in the sense of, you know, being in company with their family, but then those relationships end. So where have you been? Like, have you ended anything in regards to those areas? Like, how have those relationships, how have they ended for you?
Yeah, honestly, recently I just ended I ended like family ships and friendships with certain people that I've been friends with for years, actually people that I grew up with. And it's unfortunate because, like, for every beginning there's an ending, whether it's death or anything of that sort. So it's unfortunate that these things happen, but it happens. Yeah. Right? It's life. Like, whether it's death, something has to come to an end.
Yeah, things come to an end.
Right. So it happened to me recently where friendship, family ship has ended, just based off like
I think you're about to say something crazy.
I'm a little chick because you're just like
no, because I'm like, y'all, it's the wine, so if I look a little no, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, like just recently, I ended off a friendship, family ship, whatever, with people that I thought that I was like really close with, like, so that happened because of, communications wasn't there and all that stuff. So it's unfortunate that had to happen, but it ended. So it just ended.
I know. So like, what happened? Like, where do you think happens with like the breakdown? Because I think there's a moment in any relationship that there's a breakdown. There's something where people start to feel divided in this bond. Because when you initially start a bond, or when you've gone through, when everything is going smooth in ship, right? Anything, everything's good. Like, everybody's pretty much at peace. Everybody wants to share ideas. Everybody wants to do things with each other. But then there's a moment where people all of a sudden don't want to tell you things. They don't want to include you on things. They don't want to. They start to hold back.
Yeah.
And you could feel that vibe. And it might take you a while, or it might just hit you immediately.
Yeah.
But there's something that happens where you're just all of a sudden, I don't fuck with you. Like, you're almost kind of like, I don't fuck with you.
How did this happen? Right. Honestly, like I was telling you before, it has to do with entitlement. And there's always a fine line between respect and loyalty.
Okay.
So honestly, I be feeling like a lot of the times, like in my friendships, people feel entitled. Like you were saying before, it's like people feel like they need to know these things, like the need to know everything about you, and it's just like, I'm not in a relationship with, like, in an intimate relationship with you where I feel like I have to explain myself to you and let you know everything. Like, it's not wrong with letting you know, like, okay, like, yeah, this and this and that. Right. But at the same time, too, it's like, you're not entitled and I'm not obligated to let you know everything that's happening. But when you feel that way, it's like, okay, now I feel like I have to back up because now you feel entitled to everything that I'm doing in my life, and it's not that case.
And I like that you said that. You hit that on the point because I actually know a friend who had this issue with one of her friends, and she felt like she almost had to babysit her friend. She almost felt like she was in a relationship with her friend. Like, it was stuff that was like, oh, why didn't you call me? Or you know, it was almost like your time is obligated through them. Like, you can't go somewhere and not invite them because then they'll start to
feel some type of way. Take it personal.
And you know this.
Personal.
Yeah, and you know this because all of a sudden they either say it to you or their
energy changes.
And you know, people who usually say something, they usually say in a joking way,
but it's the truth.
Or they'll say it like, hey, why didn't you invite me? You know, like stuff like that. So I remember my friend specifically saying like, yo, I'm having this problem with this friend. So I get that with that whole feeling entitled. And I think too, I don't think every friendship is that people just feel entitled. I feel like people want to be a part of what you're doing so much that if you're not doing it with them, they feel like you potentially might leave them. Right. And it's really like, I'm not leaving you, but every friend is for something different. Every space is for something different. I had to learn that in my own friendship. My best friend, I've known her since 8th grade. I love this girl. I had to learn what space I am in her life because it was a transition in my adulthood. I remember like thinking to myself, oh my gosh, she doesn't want to fuck with me no more, she don't want to talk to me no more, it's dead. But then I had to learn, no, you just have a special space in her life. It don't look like everything, you're not going to be involved with everything in her life. You're a part of this part of her life. So I think too, that's something that a lot of people may have to notice or be aware of.
Because honestly, communication is where everything falls to. In any type of relationship.
And self-awareness. Understanding your role in somebody's life. Because you may be the role in my life as a confidant, but that don't mean you're supposed to be my business partner. Like, those are small things that people have to understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how the world is moving. Like, you don't get to be in every part of my life, but you are a part of my life in the space that I need you here for.
I agree. I agree. And I feel like also, like what we were talking about before, like being put in uncomfortable conversations and being put in uncomfortable positions. People don't know how to speak or know that their tone is not the tone that they're supposed to be speaking to the other person. So a lot of the times, like, people think that they're talking to a person one way and it's the right way, but in all reality, it's not the right way. So that can also end friendships too. It's like, oh, you don't speak to me in a way that I'm supposed to feel respected and being spoken to. So a lot of the times, obviously, you're gonna end a friendship or anything like that because it's like, yo, like, you don't know how to speak to me. And you're so accustomed to speaking to everybody like that it's just, you think it's okay. Like I was telling you before, it's like behavior. No one is correcting behaviors. Everybody's just thinking that everything is okay, but people are too afraid to say, yo, what you're doing is wrong. And you know what? Some people aren't acceptive. Some people are receptive to the information that other people are receiving.
They are. Some people are taking it in, understanding it.
Some people are not, though. Some people are not. Some people are just like, oh, like, I don't want to, like, what they're saying is wrong. That's not my character. Because people don't want to think that their character is the wrong way. But in all reality, it's like, yo, there's nothing wrong with changing that. But people don't like change. Because they're so accustomed to going years of just being this one way, that once like somebody comes along, it could be anybody new or anybody that's older into their life, they're like, yo, like, what you're doing is wrong, and they're like, just like, you know what, I'm not fucking with you or whatever the case, like, that's just wrong. This is how I am, I'm gonna stay this way. And that's what's ended majority of the friendships, because it's like, you don't see your wrongdoings, and I don't like people,
or you don't want to be held accountable.
Exactly. I don't like people who don't take accountability.
You gotta be held. You have in the structure of friendships, relationships, all of this, we all have to kind of take. You could receive the message and be defensive. That's fine. Your initial reaction can be defensive.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to know how to process.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're not able to process and do some self-reflecting, self-awareness, and then determine, then things can get real fucked up quickly.
Right.
So there's some people who don't want to process anything, and their initial thought is to go outlash.
Yeah.
And that's scary, because I personally feel like if you're not, you don't have to agree. That is the power of real relationships. You don't have to agree.
Right.
Take that out the window, but we have to have understanding. We have to understand it. You could tell me right now, I don't like you touching my thighs. I don't agree with that. I'm like, damn, I'm not hurting you, but I have to respect. She likes to not be touched.
That's why I said there's a fine line between respect and loyalty.
Damn. So which one would you rather have, respect or loyalty?
I trip over respect. Respect is one thing that I'm just like, you gotta respect me.
I want both.
I want both.
I want both.
But if I had to choose one,
respect for me.
Right, because that's just what it is.
I feel like, can you respect me if you're not loyal to me? Like, loyalty is like, well, yeah.
I feel like loyalty is definitely one of those. It's top. Top. Yeah.
But I don't want you to be loyal and then you be disrespecting me. Like, I want you just to fuck with me and be like, oh, I fuck with you, but then you being, I don't like your energy.
It's just like the episode of Selling Tampa where I forgot her name, whatever her name is. She was just like, she don't respect how, like how the lady is treating her, but she's like, yo, like at the end of the day, I'm loyal. Like, I'm not about to go to your company. Like, I don't fuck with her, but I'm loyal at the end of the day.
So that's say that. And that's true. She is loyal. But I just feel like I want both, and I think we both agree. We kind of want both.
In anything, in any relationships, friendships, whatever, you need that. It's setting the standard.
So now that you've come to terms with what has ended, have you ever, anything that has ended, have you ever tried to go back to it? Have you ever, what has that emotional or physical breakdown? What has been the aftermath of the end of this, anything you've been in?
Well, to be honest, I'm the type of person that, depending on how the friendship or relationship ended, depending on how it ended, true,
then
I'm just done.
You're done.
I'm done, because I know that I put my all. If I know that I communicated and told you how I felt, but you as a person just decided to just toss me to the trash, then I'm it's over. It's done.
Yeah.
There has been friendships and relationships that I would love to rekindle, right? Because they were friendships. And that's what I'm
ask. Like, do you have any?
I would love to, but it's like it's not the same.
It don't hit the same
because you feel different. It's like
you guys have go ahead.
No, but it's like if you can end off something so abruptly without any type of communication, I feel like you're gonna do that again.
Okay, so small stuff like that. Like, if there was a lack of communication, you could do that. Lack of communication.
Anytime, any day. Yeah.
So no double backing. Nope. Even in relationships with someone.
Nope.
Dang. So when you cut it off, you cut it off.
I cut it off. What about you? Has there been any
cut off? Yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of ends and a lot of beginnings.
Yeah. Every ending there's always a beginning.
I definitely feel like there's people that, but so funny, people that I have ended relationships, friendships with, I still think about them till this day.
Of course.
In a very peaceful manner, just reflecting, just thinking like, damn, I remember when I was dealing with so and so, and I remember how he made me feel, or I had this homegirl that I loved. Why did it end like this? And I can say, after every ending, I've always learned something and applied it. So it's kind of funny, things that I've learned in the friendship that have ended, I now apply it. And you're like, damn,
where was this energy?
Why didn't I do this in the friendship? But I had to go through that situation to learn. To process it, to learn and apply it to this new relationship. It's kind of like when a dude dates a female, he may treat you like trash, but whatever he learned from you, he gonna treat the other girl better.
Differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
it's a cycle.
Nobody gets the benefit initially in the relationship, but you learn afterwards. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I feel like end of relationships, it's almost kind of like I'm gonna give you your flowers, even though you don't know. Because there's really guys out there who taught me some real stuff, but they will never know, and I'll never tell them. But I feel, thank you.
I like that you say that, because like you said, for every relationship that you've ended, you learn something new about yourself. And it's always been something new I learned about myself with every person that I've dated. And I'm just like, with like this one particular person, I've learned not to take things personal. And this other person, I'm like, I don't communicate enough. So all those things, I've literally like, I'm like, okay, you know what? I gotta not take things personal. I gotta communicate more effectively, and everything I just take, I apply it to like now. And now I'm a better person. Yeah. Because of those reasons.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And like piggyback off what you're saying, I remember. It's so funny because this one particular guy has always there's a couple of dudes, I ain't gonna hold you, but this one particular guy, like, I learned so much from him, and we ended abruptly. Like, it was our second round, pretty much. We did the second time us talking and dating, whatever, and it didn't work out. And I remember cutting him off that day, like that. You know that moment where you say, "I'm gonna cut you off," and then you cut them off. That was what happened with him. But I look back at that relationship, and I learned so much from that relationship. I learned how to communicate with a particular guy what I really, really want, not to hold back. You know what I'm saying? Because I think in that relationship, when I was dealing with him in that dating space, I was holding back a lot of myself because I didn't want to scare him off. I was like, okay, let me just not say this because I don't want to piss him off, because he had a temper. So I learned to be very, like, keep my shit to myself, because he would easily just like
losing
outlash. And so I kept it all in, but that shit taught me, like, oh, you can't do that no more. Sis. Anybody who's ruffling up my feathers, we gotta stop it. But like, I love that. I love those small little gems that you learn from individuals. You know what I'm saying? How about family? Because I know a lot of our supporters, it's hard to cut off family.
It ain't that hard.
You don't think it's that hard?
No.
Okay, so with family, I feel like it could be tricky. Because sometimes,
depending on how close they are to you. If they're like brother and sister, then of course it's gonna be hard.
Right. But if it's because you still have to see them in immediate spaces. Right.
But if it's like cousins or anything like that,
you could cut them off.
I cut them off easily.
Woo. I don't know. I feel like it could be tricky because I've been in spaces where I'm not talking to a certain family member, and then somebody brings their name up. And then somebody else brings in, and then you're like, okay, you're not talking about them, but somehow communication's being related. And then the kids. And I will say this is my problem too. Sometimes with my, like, I'm not gonna say who the family member is, but it's a kid that I love. But then the family member and I are not like in the best space. But I wanna deal with.
That's what I'm saying. It depends on how close they are to you.
Right.
Because that person is close to you.
Right.
So I just feel like for example, like one of my closest family members that I had, we ended because of a situation with his girlfriend being in our family business. So outside, but you're coming into a business that they didn't need to involve you in it. So because she brought herself in that situation, it was like, of course, him being a man, him getting on defensive mode, and because we were disrespecting his woman, it's like, oh no, now I'm cutting you guys off, hands down. So it's like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, why would you want to cut us off? And that could have been easily avoided if we just had a conversation.
So do you think that's the end?
It's the end.
Really?
And we've been in the same space, like, I think once or twice. And it's almost as if we never existed to each other.
That makes me.
It hurts. It definitely hurts.
I don't want to be emotional. But it hurts.
It definitely hurts. It fucking hurts, because this is literally a person that we grew up with, like diapers and everything. Don't cry, please don't.
I don't want to. I'm emotional person. Yeah, because that's what really messes with me. Yeah, like, how does somebody this close turn to strangers?
We were literally in the same park together, in the same family reunion, did not speak. And it was just like
scary.
And it was just like, oh well. That's why I said it could be that easy because it just depends on how the.
But is it that easy if emotionally you still feel something?
I mean, it's easy to stop talking to the person, but it's
not action,
right?
The emotional
is not easy. It's not emotionally. It's not easy because it's like, damn, like we really grew up together. Like this is a person that we've seen like elevate through everything, and it's like we're not a part of that. And then honestly, you know what's the fucked up situation about this? Is the fact that this all could have been avoided if we had a simple ass conversation. And I could, you know what the thing is too, also like what we talked about earlier, taking accountability. And we meaning my sister and I, because obviously we're in this situation, we've taken accountability to where we went wrong. Because you know what the thing is also, people feel a way, but they don't explain how they feel, right? But like I was saying before, like it could have easily been avoided if we just had a simple conversation. Every situation that I've ended or that ended could have been avoided if they would have just spoke to me or we would have just spoke together.
So at the end, I feel like if you feel like you don't want to end something or the end to any relationship, I feel like the beginning should be communication.
At the end of the day, it should just be
sitting down and really having that heart to heart with the hard conversation.
No matter how
talk about the elephant in the room.
No matter how uncomfortable, you gotta have those conversations.
All right. Yeah. So guys, we're gonna leave you guys off here. Thank you so much for joining us at Melanin Uncut. Thank you so much for joining us at Melanin Uncut. Bye. That's funny. We just went over. You went over to the camera like, no.
This one too is dying.